Emily Armenta is joining me here today, and not only is Emily a friend of mine, I've known her for 17 years, I think. She is also the creator, the owner, the designer, the CEO, pretty much everything of Armenta. It's a beautiful jewelry line that's international, Emily. First, I have to congratulate you on all you've done in just 20 years of starting and owning this company.
Thank you.
It's
so nice to be here with you.
It's just really impressive. Thank you. I think it's so fascinating, your whole story. So take us from the beginning, how you got the idea to start this beautiful jewelry company and how you actually went about creating it.
Well, so I come from a pretty creative family. So my father was a writer, my mother is an artist, but my grandmother made jewelry. And so when I was a kid, I used to sit by her desk and I would watch her make jewelry, and I was just fascinated. So I've been doing it my whole life, kind of came into the world that way. And, but I guess I was sort of the weird one of my family, and I thought, oh, I've got to go and get an education, go out and get a job and follow this more traditional path. And so I wound up getting my MBA at Rice. I took an entrepreneurship class, and they gave us an assignment to create a business plan. And so I focused on this company. And so it really started when I was in school. And I will tell you, I didn't know if it was just a project run amok or if I had something, but I kept getting all of these orders, and retailers kept calling, and then Neiman's called and Saks called. And so, again, I didn't know if it was a project that had run amok or if I had something. And my husband told me, he said, Emily, you've got to get out of the house because you're going to burn everything down. So I went and got this little space that was the size of a broom closet and thought that I had arrived. And it was the greatest thing ever.
But you grew your business in that broom closet. Seriously, you were shipping out international orders from it wasn't a broom closet, but it was smaller, much smaller than what she has now. But you had already really started to make, you just mentioned some, Bergdorf's and Neiman Marcus, big time accounts, Emily.
Yeah, no, it took off pretty quickly. And so I was working around the clock. And so I put in a lot of long, hard hours, realistically, really the first 10 years. But I still work pretty hard today,
You do. You have always worked hard. You have been a hard worker. I think, from an outsider looking in, part of your success, a huge part of your success, is your attention to detail and the creative process.
Yeah.
You are, so hands-on in everything.
Well, what's interesting about this business that a lot of people don't know is that we're one of the few ateliers left in the United States. For the most part, you've got designers and then you've got factories. And so designers will ship their product off, usually overseas, and they'll get it produced and shipped back in. And it's machine made.
Okay.
All of our product is handmade, and it's handmade from start to finish. The other thing that's interesting with this industry is that, for the most part, the manufacturing process is done by men. And so all of our manufacturing is done by these women that have gone through our artist training program that we started pretty much about 20 years ago. And the product is made by women that come from disadvantaged circumstances.
And you've been able to not only be so successful, but to help so many people in the process through giving them meaningful, good jobs.
Yeah, the intention was that we wanted to be able to give somebody a transferable skill set that they could continue to build on and would stay with them for their lives. And so the ladies that come into this organization, like I said, we have a training program, and it's kind of leveled off so that the more experienced people help the kind of intermediate and so forth and so on. But these ladies they're incredibly talented women that work very, very hard and are very passionate about what they do. And so the detail, I feel like when you have a piece of handmade jewelry, that there is almost an energy to it.
There is. It's
that you can feel it. You can feel the difference between that piece and a piece that's, mass produced and machine made.
There's no question. And what also I find so interesting about your pieces is they are so unique. You really took this sort of old world feel and made it modern. Describe your lines and that feel that runs through all of them.
Yeah, so that's a great way of putting it. So what you'll see in the collection is sort of this balance or juxtaposition between rugged and refinement. And so I kind of think that that's sort of a metaphor of life, that life's not perfect, but that's what makes it beautiful too. That all of the things that we go through and experience in life make us more interesting, more unique, more passionate. It makes us who we are. Mm-hmm. And so for me, the jewelry is just sort of an embodiment of that let's celebrate the differences and let's celebrate the imperfections, because when you put it all together, it makes something magical.
Sort of the fabric of life.
Yes, exactly.
That you have like a tangible piece to feel that and to understand that. Yeah, I agree. It's a beautiful metaphor for life. There's no question. And lately you've started some more programs to help more people. Tell us more about those.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to give back in a meaningful way. And, with the ladies here at the company, we were able to do that. We were able to kind of build or expand upon our circle of influence. But there's a lot more that I wanted to do. I'm focused on the environment. I have children. And so, I wanted to create a platform, and I call it a platform of circular innovation. And that is, how do we divert things from going into the landfill? How do we provide a skill set and education to women so that we can empower them? How do we provide jobs and opportunities for these ladies? And then how do we create something from trash, if you will? So today we have a program, and it's called the Armenta Army. And so it's kind of follows the rank of the military. And so we actually go to events now, and we work with our customers, and we say, give us all your trash and we'll take anything. But so we ask clients to go to their closet and clean stuff out, give us their trash and jelly jars and what have you. And we collect those things. And so now we've got a program where we partner with an organization that rescues ladies from the sex trade. And so we will bring them in, and then we will teach them sewing skills, pattern making, management skills. And so we can do that because customers are giving us their trash. So we're making that new and a tool for these ladies to get an education and to learn a skill set. But in addition to that, we upcycle a lot of clothes, and I always tell people I wear a lot of trashy things, but it's all upcycled. And so we can make these couture feeling pieces of apparel that are all unique and one of a kind, which I think is kind of a cool thing.
Totally.
And so it's this circular innovation to where you bring creativity and education and passion into the mix, and you can do some really good things and influence and impact lives.
Let's touch on that. You just said the word creativity, and we had kind of talked a little bit before we started the interview that so much of that creative process, we feel like in our society, whether it's at schools or even in childhood, has sort of been taken out and replaced with devices.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe in our day we were out drawing, whether we're drawing on the sidewalk with chalk or whatever, or mud.
Exactly.
But that artistic process is somewhat disrupted in many lives today.
No, I think it's really hard because that creative process, I feel like, sometimes speaks to us in those quiet moments where our mind is in a quiet space to where you can hear your thoughts and that you don't have so much stimulation going on, but it's really something that's coming from within. And I do think that, that some of that has not only been taken out of the educational system, but then when kids get out of school, when they get home from school, they've got all of these electronic devices, and a lot of the educational process is on the computer, and things have changed, which I think, I get it, that's a part of the evolution, I suppose, but I don't feel like there's a lot of emphasis on the creative aspect and being in touch with something that's in a deeper place where you can express who you are in an authentic way like that.
Well, and there's something so satisfying and pacifying and
right?
And anxiety relieving
Right.
from whether you're doing calligraphy or drawing or making something or needlepoint or cross stitch.
Right.
I remember I had grandmothers who did that.
Yeah.
And that was an artistic expression at the time. And so I think as parents, we really have to look for those moments, at least I do, to
Absolutely.
encourage some kind of artistic expression, whether it's music. I mean, it doesn't have to just be, I feel like, something physical or artistic in that it's, painting or what have you. But
No, it's so therapeutic for
yes,
the children.
yes.
So for sure. And I mean, anytime we've got a area in my home and we call it Creation Station, but I just love it when the kids go in there and they just go and like zone out and go in there and create, because I do think that it's an outlet. And I think that it's a way to help kids be proud of something that they've created, but also just relieve stress and anxiety that a lot of kids have these days in school.
Well, there's somewhat of a disruption of that process in our lives. And then also, I mean, it's just it's a more stressful, I think, environment for kids. A lot of kids to grow up in these days. And like you said, they're on devices all the time. And they like those. Let's be honest. I mean, I have 5 kids. I love the devices. Love them. Love them.
It is hard to get them away.
Yes. So anytime that I can find, same thing, to encourage mine to go outside and play in the dirt or
Right.
draw or something that's less structured, I definitely do. I just think there's tremendous value in that. And even as adults, I think if people sometimes find their passions, their artistic passions later in life.
Right. Yeah.
You hear about that all the time.
No, for sure. And I think that, for us here, I think that there's a lot of focus and emphasis on the creativity and the team coming together as a creative unit. And I love it. I feel like we've kind of created our own little world that is centered around this platform of circular innovation where we're all coming together and kind of feeding off of each other's energy. And it's different. It feels different. Like you walk in and the energy is different than when you go into a more structured office setting.
No, yeah, I agree with that, definitely. Let's talk about for other working moms, because we were just talking too, that's just one of those things in life that gets thorny from time to time. And on one hand, it's so good to be able to show your kids what you're good at and your passion, but then time becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Carpool becomes an issue.
Right.
Putting dinner on the table becomes an issue. I mean, talk
Never
about
enough
that.
time in the
Yeah,
day, right?
that's true. And it starts to cut into your sleep and
Yeah.
one of those things.
Well, I will tell you, I did not have work-life balance when I first started the company. But then when my kids came along, everything changed. And so I had to find that work-life balance. And I think that I've gotten to this mindset where kind of like you got to put your mask on first before you can put your child's mask on.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've got to take care of myself mentally, emotionally, physically to be the best version of myself that I can be for those around me. And so I'm pretty, what's the word? I'm
Cognizant
not
or
flexible.
Oh, okay.
I'm not flexible around time with my kids or time for me to be the best version of myself that I need to be. But with that being said, I also have to work really hard while I am here, and I've got to be present. But I think that one of the things that I think has resonated with my children is that they see me going and doing something that I love. They see that I'm passionate about it. And my kids are proud. And they talk to me today about things that where I think some children or people in general think, oh, well, I don't know if I could ever succeed doing that. I don't know if I could really do something that I love to do, something that I'm passionate about, because there's fear there. And it's not a common path. That people have a tendency to want to do the more structured, typical thing. And so my kids have started talking to me about that, which I think is great, but I think it's because they've seen that, work doesn't have to be work. Work can be something that you love, that you're passionate about, and then it's just part of your life.
Well, and you took the road less traveled, like you said. I mean, you kind of went outside those more structured, common type careers and created something amazing and unique. And I think that's wonderful that your kids are seeing that and the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, and I think that kids, I mean, they look at their parents as role models, and I think that it's one thing to talk to kids and show them, but I think living it through your actions and teaching them through your actions is really powerful. Um, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm a big believer in the underdog and the entrepreneur, and I've always been that way ever since I was a kid. And so I just think that having the courage and the confidence to go out and start something that's something to be celebrated.
It is, because it's not easy. It's not. I mean, you're in essence reinventing the wheel in a lot of cases when you go out and start something, and that's a big pool to jump into.
Right.
It just is. So I mean, there's tremendous value in that. For women who want to start a business, who are in the back of their mind, they've always thought I would be really good at this or that. What's your advice?
You know, because it is scary, and there's a monetary issue here because you got to keep food on the table and you got to keep things going. And for me, I think what allowed me to kind of get into it and build it was that I was frugal with my money. I mean, every penny that I had, I put into the business. But I did it in such a way where I could get money coming in the door before like I was doing it in my living room for a long time before
Right.
I went out and got my broom closet. And so I had those little milestone steps of growth that happened. And each place that I was in, I mean, I was busting at the seams before we would move into another location. And so I think that just being careful about the financial commitment, but also being confident and knowing that you can get there and having people around you that support you and encourage you. I believe that's a kind of a winning recipe.
Well, you've made it work. I mean, you definitely have, and you're right. That intangible piece, I think, for a lot of people, is just that confidence.
It's so important. It's so important because people will quit before they ever really give themselves a chance or an opportunity, or they'll make it up in their mind that, oh, that's too big of a bite. I just don't know if I can do that.
Were there points where you thought, I can't do this?
There are definitely moments where it's frustrating and things are not going well, but I've never had a point where I've thought, I just don't want to do this. It's been the most rewarding thing outside of my children that I've ever experienced in my life. And I feel incredibly grateful and fortunate to have great friends and staff and people around me that do support me, but that all share in this common vision, and to see all of us creating together, and that the lives that we're touching, and it's the most rewarding thing I've ever experienced. And so I can't imagine doing anything else.
Do you think either one of your children will want to come take over someday?
I hope. I try to encourage that, but no.
You never know. They're young
never
still,
know.
so you never know. So what's next? What are your future goals?
Well, so where we are headed is that I really am focusing more and more of my time and energy on the Armenta Army, and looking at not only the philanthropic aspects of the business, but other organizations that we can partner with and how we can grow that circle of influence. With so many crazy things that happen in the world, I think that if there's a way to leave the world in a slightly better place, even if the contribution is small, that every little bit helps, every little bit adds up. And I want to do my part for my kids, and for the community that I live in and that I'm a part of. And so that's a big focus for me. It started with some of our packaging. We've got a patent on that, so we're the only one.
Wow.
We're the only brand that has that kind of packaging. But you can take the whole thing and throw it in the landfill, and wildflowers will grow.
So
And it's multi-sensory. You can smell Armenta, and you can feel Armenta, and you can taste it and touch it, with all of the features of the packaging. And so continuing to use our creativity in that direction, where the creativity is certainly going to be built into the collections that we provide, but to make it an experience around the whole process of what we offer, from packaging to training programs to diverting things from landfills to helping our clients clean out their closets, that we can all work together in an interesting, creative way and do some really good things.
No question. How many countries are you in now? Because I know you sell internationally.
We do. This is going to sound bad because I'm not exactly that close to the sales part these days. But we are sold throughout Europe, and we've got distribution in the Caribbean, obviously across the United States, and we are actually looking into the Asian market.
Okay. Well, your stuff's beautiful. It'll be popular in any part of the world, I have no doubt. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's always wonderful to hear from you. And you have such great advice. I just appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.